I'm looking at a document right now. It's an internal technical service communication, the kind that rarely surfaces publicly, and the language in it is careful, deliberately vague, the way engineering language gets when the people writing it know exactly what they're describing but don't want to say it plainly. What it's describing is fuel dilution, specifically the rate at which 0W-20 motor oil thins out in direct injection engines running in sustained high heat conditions. The numbers are not reassuring. That document is the starting point for everything we're going to cover, because the conversation around 0W-20 oil has been dominated for years by one side of the argument, the side with the most to gain from keeping you on the thinnest oil your engine will technically accept. And the other side, the side with the viscosity data and the wear metal counts, has been getting louder. This is not a hit piece on the manufacturers who recommend 0W-20. Their reasoning is real, their engineering rationale is defensible, and understanding that reasoning is actually the key to figuring out what applies to your specific situation. But after looking at what the data shows across different engine types, climates, and mileage bands, the picture is more complicated than the cap on your engine says it is. Let's go through it rank by rank, starting with who benefits most from 0W-20, moving through the middle ground and landing on the conditions where the evidence most strongly suggests a thicker grade may be worth the conversation. The case for 0W-20 is not nothing. Automakers did not arrive at this recommendation by accident or by cutting corners. They arrived at it through a combination of CAFE compliance pressure, the federal fuel economy standards that every manufacturer selling in the American market has to meet, and genuine cold start engineering. The 0W part of that designation means the oil flows like a zero-weight lubricant in frigid temperatures. On a January morning in Minnesota, when your engine sits at negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, that matters enormously. Thicker oils take time to reach the bearings and cylinder walls on cold starts, and the first few seconds of startup are when a significant portion of engine wear actually occurs. A faster flowing cold weather oil reduces that window. The fuel economy side of the equation is equally straightforward. Thinner oil creates less internal friction. Less internal friction means slightly better combustion efficiency. Manufacturers measure this in fractions of a mile per gallon, but at scale, across millions of vehicles in fleet testing, those fractions add up to compliance with government standards. This is not a conspiracy. It is engineering shaped by regulation. So that is the honest starting point. 0W-20 was designed to solve two real problems: cold start protection and fuel economy. In the conditions it was designed for, it performs those functions well. Here's where the data starts to complicate things. The number that keeps coming up in oil analysis. Labs is the viscosity retention figure at operating temperature. At 212 degrees Fahrenheit, normal operating range, a fresh 0W-20 behaves within its specification. But engine temperatures are not static. A turbocharged engine on a highway run in Phoenix in August is seeing oil temperatures that can push well past 250 degrees in the turbocharger feed lines. At those temperatures, independently submitted oil samples analyzed by third-party labs show that some 0W-20 formulations demonstrate measurably higher viscosity loss than a 5W-30 sample subjected to the same thermal conditions. The difference in viscosity retention between those two grades under sustained heat stress can range from roughly 6 to 12% depending on the oil brand and the specific engine application. That gap matters. Kinematic viscosity is the technical term. Think of it this way. Imagine two people trying to hold a vibrating metal bar apart with only their hands. The thicker their gloves, the less metal-on-metal contact they experience when their grip slips. Motor oil is those gloves. When viscosity drops under heat, the film between the bearing surface and the rotating journal gets thinner. At some threshold, that film stops being a reliable barrier. That's when you start accumulating wear metal in the pan, the microscopic shavings of copper, iron, and lead that oil analysis labs measure in parts per million. And that's how an engine that looks fine on the outside begins quietly aging faster than the odometer suggests. Most people don't know this, but the wear metal story is particularly pronounced in two specific populations of engines: direct injection motors and turbocharged applications. Both run hotter. Both introduce additional stressors that the original 0W-20 specification was not always calibrated around when it was first written. Direct injection is worth pausing on. In a traditional port-injected engine, fuel is sprayed into the intake manifold and mixes with air before entering the cylinder. Some of that fuel washes the cylinder walls and the piston rings, which is not ideal but has the side effect of diluting any oil that makes contact. In a direct injection engine, fuel is sprayed directly into the combustion chamber at extremely high pressure. Under certain conditions, cold starts, short trips where the engine never fully warms up, or aggressive fueling events, unburned fuel can make it past the piston rings and into the crankcase. This is called fuel dilution, and it physically reduces the viscosity of whatever oil is in the pan. If you start with 0W-20 and add fuel dilution on top of it, you may end up running an oil that is measurably thinner than the baseline specification by the time your next oil change rolls around. Pay attention to this number. Oil analysis data from multiple independent labs consistently shows that direct injection engines on extended drain intervals can exhibit fuel contamination, levels between 1 and 4% by volume in the crankcase oil. A 1% fuel dilution in a 0W-20 oil does not create an emergency. 4% begins to push into territory where the oil's ability to maintain film strength under load is genuinely diminished. The turbocharged context adds another layer. Turbochargers spin at speeds that can exceed 100,000 RPM. The bearings inside a turbo are lubricated by a continuous supply of engine oil, and when the engine shuts off, heat soaks back into the turbo housing. Because the spinning stops, but the residual heat does not. This is called heat soak, and it is why you hear experienced mechanics say to let a turbocharged engine idle for a minute before shutting it off on a hard run. In that heat soak window, a small volume of oil sits in the turbo feed and drain lines exposed to temperatures that can exceed 300 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, thin oils do not just lose viscosity temporarily, they can begin to oxidize and carbonize. Over time, the residue from that carbonization builds up in the turbo oil passages. That buildup reduces flow. Reduced flow at 100,000 RPM creates a noise first, a faint whine that sharpens over time, and eventually premature turbo bearing failure. None of this means 0W-20 is universally dangerous. That framing is precisely what the title warns against and what we are trying to cut through. The evidence suggests a much more conditional story than this oil kills engines. So here's the comparative breakdown, working from best case to most concerning. Naturally aspirated engines, moderate climates, short to medium drain intervals, primarily highway driving. This is where 0W-20 performs closest to its design intent. If your engine is not turbocharged, if you change your oil at or slightly before the manufacturer's recommended interval, if you are not in a region that spends 6 months above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and if you are not stacking up short cold start trips, the factory specification may hold up just fine in the long-term wear data. Oil analysis from owners in this category, running major brand 0W-20 synthetic formulations, consistently shows wear metals within acceptable ranges through the full drain interval. This is where the manufacturer's case is strongest and the counter-argument is weakest. Naturally aspirated engines, hot climates, extended drain intervals, this is the middle tier. The added heat stress begins to show up in viscosity retention. Evidence suggests that in sustained summer heat, particularly in the American Southwest, parts of the Middle East and Southeast Asia, the thermal performance gap between 0W-20 and 5W-30 begins to widen. It does not become an emergency, but owners in this category who submit oil samples to independent labs tend to show incrementally higher wear metal readings than their cooler climate counterparts running the same oil in the same engines. The practical implication may be as simple as shortening drain intervals from 7,500 miles to 5,000 miles, for example, rather than necessarily switching grades. Turbocharged direct injection engines, hot climates, over 75,000 miles, this is where the evidence starts pointing most consistently toward a conversation about grade. The combination of fuel dilution from direct injection, heat soak stress on the turbo, and the accumulated wear that develops in any engine past 75,000 miles creates conditions that some engineers and independent lubrication specialists argue were not the primary design target for 0W-20 specifications. The oil is doing more work in a hotter, more chemically hostile environment than the lab conditions that produced the original recommendation. Several independent lubrication engineers whose analysis is publicly available have stated on record that turbocharged direct injection applications in hot climates represent the most compelling case for considering a manufacturer-approved thicker grade, where one exists. And that is the crucial phrase, where one exists. Here is where the $2 figure in the title becomes real. The alternative to 0W-20 is not some exotic additive or aftermarket compound. In many cases, it is a 5W-30, which is a grade that costs roughly $1 to $2 more per quart depending on brand and retailer. If you use 5 quarts per oil change, you are talking about a $5 to $10 difference per service interval. That is the math. The question is whether that incremental cost is justified by the evidence for your specific vehicle in your specific operating conditions. But here is the non-negotiable part of this conversation. You do not just switch grades because a video told you to. Your owner's manual specifies the approved viscosity grades for your engine, and in many cases, the manual will list both a primary recommendation and acceptable alternatives for specific climates or operating conditions. Pull out your manual this week, not next month, this week, And look at the viscosity specifications page. Some manuals list 0W-20 as the primary recommendation, but acknowledge 5W-30 as an acceptable alternative under certain conditions. Others list 0W-20 as the only approved grade, full stop. If your manual does not list a thicker alternative, switching grades without talking to a qualified mechanic first may affect your powertrain warranty coverage. That is a real-world financial consideration that the data alone does not capture. If you are currently under warranty, the warranty implication question is not optional. It is the first thing you need to resolve. Talk to your dealer's service department and ask directly whether using a 5W-30 in your engine is approved and what documentation they would need to see to maintain coverage. Get the answer in writing if you can. That conversation costs nothing. If you're out of warranty and your manual lists 5W-30 as an acceptable alternative, then the conditional advice from the data looks like this. If you are running a turbocharged direct injection engine with over 80,000 miles in a consistently hot climate, and you are changing your oil at or near the maximum recommended interval, the evidence suggests that a conversation with your mechanic about switching to the thicker approved grade may be worth having. This is not a mandate. It is a conditional recommendation based on the pattern the data shows. If you are running a naturally aspirated engine under 60,000 miles in a moderate climate with consistent oil changes, the evidence does not point toward any urgent need to change what you are doing. The factory specification appears to be performing within its intended parameters in that scenario. Now listen, there's one physical thing you can do this week that costs absolutely nothing and gives you actual information about your specific engine. Pull your dipstick. Not to check the level, though check the level too. Look at the color and the texture of what is on that stick. Fresh synthetic oil is amber and translucent, oil that has been working hard. In heat for several months, darkens toward brown and eventually black. Oil that has significant fuel dilution often smells faintly of gasoline, a thin, almost watery quality to the way it spreads on your fingers that is noticeably different from fresh oil. That gasoline smell, that thinner consistency, that darker than expected color for your current mileage, since the last change, those are the sensory signals that suggest your oil may be working harder than its specification anticipated. They do not prove a problem, but they are the starting point for deciding whether an oil analysis kit, which you can mail in for under $30, is worth submitting. The broader data picture, when you rank the operating conditions, from least concerning to most, looks like this. Mild climate, naturally aspirated, short intervals at one end of the spectrum, turbocharged, direct injection, hot climate, extended intervals at the other. 0W-20 was engineered for a specific set of conditions, and it performs well inside those conditions. The evidence for moving to a thicker approved grade gets stronger as you move toward the high heat, high stress, high mileage end of that spectrum. The manufacturers are not lying to you. They're also not running your specific engine in your specific climate, at your specific mileage, through your specific driving pattern. The oil specification on your cap was written for a statistical average of conditions. Your conditions may or may not be average. What the data argues for is not blind adherence to the specification and not blind rejection of it. It argues for knowing where your situation falls on the spectrum, reading what your own manual actually says about alternatives, talking to a mechanic who can look at your specific engine's history, and if warranted, making a cost-benefit decision. That a $5 per change difference in oil grade may be the cheapest insurance you can buy for a turbocharged engine in Phoenix with 95,000 miles on it. I know this cuts against the simple message that the oil cap delivers. That simplicity was always a communication choice, not the full engineering picture. If this framing challenges what you have been told, or if your experience with a specific engine and grade tells a different story than what the data trends suggest, drop it in the comments. The most useful data in this conversation does not come from labs alone. It comes from owners who actually pulled the dipstick, ran the oil analysis, and tracked the wear over years. If this made you rethink something, or if you know someone about to make an oil decision on a high mileage turbo, pass it along. That conversation may be worth more than the $2 per quart.